Hi there, it's Natasha and thank you so much for joining me today. I was inspired to make this card today by a couple of things. I wanted to make a kind of simple card using just some kind of simple methods, and then I was also a little bit inspired by Laura Basson, who does these kind of geometric shapes and things on her cards pretty often. So I'm starting off here with this is like a little file folder. For those of you in New Zealand, I got this from the warehouse and it came in a pack of 5, I think. I'm cutting off the top here, and then I will use the bottom half as a folder to store all of my little masks. But when I saw this, I had a different use in mind for some of them, and then when this one was going spare, I knew perfectly what it would be good for. It's quite a thin plastic, and I'm going to use a whole lot of circles out of that Hero Arts Infinity die set and create a whole lot of stencils and masks. Now, you could use anything here, any thin plastic, any packaging plastic, any acetate, anything that you have that you think would work. You could also use a little bit of paper, however it would be trickier because you couldn't see through it, but not impossible. I have a little piece of Gina masking paper here, and I cut out one of the circles from this. It's quite big, and this will be hanging over the edge here, hanging off the edge of my 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch card base. Now today I'm going to be using Crown Me, Prom Queen and Guppy. These are the Simon Hurley ink pads, and they blend beautifully. That was important to me because today the focus of this card is ink. So I'm going to use a little bit of Tombow. Make sure that it's removable and not permanent adhesive. This is my favorite removable adhesive, and I'm taking the smallest of those little masks and popping it right inside that big mask that I have. So you can kind of see here when I turn it to the light what I mean. That little plastic mask is on the inside, and just because I know me, I'm going to add a little bit of mint tape, which is just a really nice low tack, very low tack, but the perfect amount of tackiness, which is so important in paper crafts for me. And then I'm going to take the purple and just ink blend lightly all around that mask. Now I just want this to be the first layer, so it's nice and light. Then once I have got that bit sorted, I'm taking the next size up. Sometimes you might want to skip a size, or you might want to just go directly the next size up. Whatever you feel works good for the size circles that you have. Again, I will put a little bit of removable adhesive on it and put it straight over the top, pretty lined up, pretty straight if I can, but I do just eyeball it, and then I ink up again with a little bit more ink. Then I will take the next circle up and do the same thing until I kind of end up with this nice circular pattern with different amounts and different layers of ink. Or using the same ink pad, just keep adding layers of ink. If you wanted to and get fancy, you could definitely kind of change this out and start with like a purple and move into a blue, or start with yellows and then oranges and then reds. But for me, I just wanted to keep each circle one color because I knew I was going to be doing several circles on this card front. So once I lift up the masks here, and I can see I have a really nice kind of one circle up there, but I knew I wanted more. So I'm just going to reuse the same mask, and this is what's really important to me about the Gina masking paper. I have tried lots of them, but I want to be able to use the same mask over and over again, especially if I'm fussy cutting something and I keep the mask with my stamp set. I want to be able to use it many times over. So that's why I like this one in particular. However, there are some really good options out there, and use what works for you, or use what you already have. And it might be a case of just using post-it notes, or using some copy paper with some tack on the back, or use whatever works for you, or that you are able to get a hold of, because sometimes that is part of the problem, being able to find things. Now, the other thing I wanted to think about when I was choosing colors for this card is that I knew they would be slightly overlapping. So purple and the next color I'm going to use, which is orange, would, if they went together, they would create mud, whereas the purple and the pink, where they overlap, are not going to create mud. And then again, the pink and the orange are not going to create mud either. So you do have to think a little bit about it, about which colors you would put next to each other, but it's not too tricky at all. and I knew that these were going to be the only 3 circles that would be touching each other. And then when I take off this mask, I really like it, but it is just a little too plain for my liking. So I go ahead and create a smaller mask. Again, this is the Gina masking paper, and I'm going to kind of do exactly the same thing, but with less circles. Obviously this one is much smaller, and so it only fits 2 or 3 circles in the middle, and half of these are hanging off the side of the page. So it is really easy and quick to go through and create a couple of these. And I was really just filling in some spots where there was a little too much empty space for my liking. Now, you couldn't just be limited to circles here. This would work well with kind of anything. You could put rectangles on their side or turn squares into diamonds, or there are lots of fun shapes that you could use this exact technique for. And I will be able to keep those masks. They just wipe nice and clean, obviously, because they are plastic. And I have them labeled in the inches that they are, the size that they are, so that I am able to just reuse them over and over again. So from here, as I said, this is a super simple card. I have this Woodware stamp set here. This one is a favorite, and I apologize. You're going to see this in a lot because I have filmed some videos in advance and it's coming up in most of them. So this is a fun stamp set, and I couldn't just choose one. I'm going to stamp these out in some VersaFine Onyx black ink, which is a pigment ink that is great for stamping. It is a nice dark black ink, and most importantly, it stamps really crisp and clear. So that's important to me when I'm stamping a sentiment. I'm just cutting these out with my scissors. I prefer a nice long blade when I am doing this, so that I can kind of do it in one big long cut and I can see where the blade is going to end up. However, a paper trimmer or a guillotine or something like that would work perfect for this. I have some of these little iridescent sequins here. There is a massive mix in here. There is kind of big flowers and circles, and there's also tiny stars and tiny hearts. So I love this mix. It's super versatile, and I'm going to sprinkle some of the nice round iridescent ones, which I have in the other packet there, and then some of those tiny stars and tiny hearts are going to go on as well. I've got the 2 sentiments popped up here on a little bit of foam tape. As I said, this card is not completely flat, but it is pretty flat given that everything is just inked onto the card base itself. And I liked it best when the sentiment was just straight underneath each other. Then I'm using a little bit of glue, which is the Ranger Multi-Medium and the matte finish. That's my favorite glue. I have a video on my channel showing you how I get it from the bottles that it comes in into those squeezy little glue tubes that I have, which I love. And then I'm using a wax pencil to be able to place these nice and easy onto the little tiny glue dots. And that is my card for today. Sweet and simple, and I had so much fun creating this. The opportunities are endless. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that you like this card. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks, bye!